So the Callisto protocol is considered a flop by on a multitude of different fronts. And I want to talk about this, guys, because this is a game where I feel like there is a ton of promise to the future of the Callisto protocol from, obviously it's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, but I felt that the Callisto protocol has a lot of characteristics to it and a lot of things that they could really take and implement into a continued sequel. And obviously now the future is in question when we're hearing the rumors and the talk that it was a big miss in terms of what the sales expectation was from the folks over at Striking Distance, but more importantly, Crafton, who is the publisher. So let's talk about it. So guys, this is a article that's coming to us from the folks over at GameBite and Richard Breslin. The Callisto Protocol is considered a flop and puts sequel in doubt. The Callisto Protocol is considered to be a flop by its investors, which puts the chances of a sequel in serious doubt. Announced during the Game Awards in 2020, the Callisto Protocol was quickly considered to be a spiritual successor to Dead Space and garnered a lot of hype. However, that pre-release hype hasn't been replicated in terms of sales. That's according to investors. Obviously, guys, there was a lot of hype around the Callisto Protocol, and for good reason. Glenn Schofield, obviously, one of the minds behind the Dead Space franchise, when there's talk that he's going to be the one helming, this brand new IP and it's going to be a spiritual successor, that's going to come with, a lot of excitement. It's going to also come with some pressure. Well, developed by Striking Distance Studios, led by Dead Space co-creator Glenn Schofield, the Callisto Protocol was released for PC, PlayStation, Xbox on December 2nd, 2022. The Callisto Protocol was at least looking the part in its trailers. It had serious Dead Space vibes, it looked visually stunning, featured over-the-top gore, and even added Hollywood star power. However, the investors of publisher Crafton are reportedly concerned about the commercial loss of the Callisto Protocol. So according to the Korean website MK Odyssey, the game cost a reported 200 billion won to develop, which roughly amounts to $162 million USD over a 3-year period. During its launch period, the Callisto Protocol failed to recoup that investment from its sales. As a result of the game falling short of expected sales, investor stock share prices were lowered. Investors hoped that the Callisto Protocol would sell 5 million copies during its launch period. However, it instead sold 2 million copies. Now, what this tells me, guys, is that with this game in particular, that being the Callisto Protocol, Crafton definitely overextended the spending on this. You see, when we look at another industry, that being the filmmaking industry, horror titles are very, very popular and have garnered a lot of excitement over the years. And one of the things though in the film industry that they do very well is keep horror movies on a lower budget, and then they end up making a good amount of money in their profit machines. Well, in this case, this is a title where it's pretty much opposite, where they decided to dump a ton of resource and development into the Callisto Protocol, which, without question, the Callisto Protocol has some incredible visuals. I thought that the gameplay was a lot of fun. It was a little clunky in certain areas, and it did get a little bit repetitive in terms of the different, villains that you're going up against and creatures and things of that nature. But I do feel that in order for them to be profitable, they would need to sell 5 million copies. That's a lot of copies to sell for a horror title like this. And even 2 million copies is a lot. But when you consider that you had to sell 5 million in order to break even or to start turning a profit, that's really cause for concern for sure. And it definitely, I'm very concerned now about the future of the Callisto Protocol, because I was hoping that this first game was going to launch a long-withsteaded, franchise for Glenn Schofield and the folks over at Striking Distance Studios. And so, really, really unfortunate to say the least. But to be honest, I feel the story is a case of investors expecting way too much. After all, the Callisto Protocol is a new IP, and most would likely consider 2 million sales during a brief launch period to be quite impressive. Sure, the game didn't release in the best state, especially on PC. However, a series of post-launch updates not only fixed bugs, but also made various quality of life improvements. That being said, perhaps the game being totally banned in Japan due to the developers not wanting to censor it didn't help either. And I was going to bring this up, guys. The developers they're obviously wanting the game to be compelling to a point where they didn't want to have to change anything about their game in order, and they just felt, and I totally respect their decision on this. But what that also tells me is that the developers as well as the publisher both agreed that they felt that this was going to be in safe hands in terms of hitting their marks even without Japan. Now, to say Japan would, lead this game, even if they censored everything, would have led it to having 3 more million copies, going from 2 million to 5 million, I think it's pretty unrealistic. But Japan definitely would have, helped probably boost those numbers a little bit if they would have censored it. We're not talking about the upcoming Resident 4 remake or the Dead Space remake. The likes of Resident Evil and Dead Space have been around for many years and have a strong and loyal fan base. The Callisto Protocol has started from scratch. It is reported that Krafton intends to claw back sales to meet expectations with a strong push for a story-based DLC as well as cosmetic items. The Callisto Protocol does already have a season pass, and its content is currently unreleased. The season pass content includes the new story modes and cosmetics. So hopefully, guys, they really come up with a good game plan where they can recoup some of those sales so that they can really justify a sequel. Now, obviously, I think that this is a different story than that of like No Man's Sky, but No Man's Sky is a perfect example of a game that started off very, very poorly. And as the developers, they believed in everything. They believed in the title and they kept on updating it, and look at where it is to this day. It's unbelievable. What a great comeback story. One of the best ever in the gaming industry. Now, the big question that a lot of people are starting to wonder, especially fans of the game like myself, will the Callisto Protocol get a sequel? Well, at this time, it's anyone's guess. Without giving much away, the ending of the game certainly implied that there is more to come, perhaps more than just the Season Pass DLC. Was the Callisto Protocol a perfect game? No, it was certainly not without its flaws. However, I believe there is enough foundation for at least for them to develop an improved sequel. So, look, guys, I think at the end of the day, a sequel is really going to come down to what the developers and publisher, that being Krafton, do moving forward. The DLC, are they going to be able to knock it out of the park? Are they going to be able to add these cosmetic items to really make for a reason to come back? One of the things that has always really concerned me about titles like this is they put all their resource and development into a single player story. And I'm not saying that it doesn't work, because we look at games like The Last of Us, games like God of War Ragnarok, a number of titles out there that don't have any multiplayer, and all they focus on is a single player story. But that being said, it limits the experience. And what I'm getting at is people coming back to the experience over and over again. And this is a perfect example of a game that I believe needed to have more to it at launch. Whether it was a multiplayer, even if it was you and your friends going up against waves and waves of these creatures, I think that could have been pretty compelling. I believe that, even having a PvP could have been a very interesting ordeal as well. I just feel that they could have done other things to bring people back to the experience, but really the ball's in their court in terms of what they plan on doing moving forward in terms of DLC, what the season pass is all going to encompass. I'm excited to see what they decide to do, guys, but that's pretty much what happened here to the Callisto Protocol. They definitely overextended, that being Krafton, and I'm hoping that they're able to recoup those losses so that we can get a sequel at some point in the future. But let me know, guys, what do you guys think about the Callisto Protocol? What were your thoughts on it? Do you think it deserved to get the backlash it did? Do you like it? Did you not like it? Do you think it'll get a sequel? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more of the Callisto Protocol content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.